34 years old. I live in Lakewood. I've lived here for about 5 years now. Married. I have 3 dogs. Full-time I work for American Greetings in our sales group. And I own a small business on the side called Lakewood Black Label. It's all Lakewood-themed apparel. Do as much research as you can, have as much information as possible. Sometimes that's not possible because you're trying an idea for the first time and you don't know how the market's going to react. But the internet is a great resource for looking at businesses that might be similar to you. Plenty of interviews are done and papers are done about struggles that other businesses have had that might be similar to yours. I try to look into those things and understand what those are. And are you okay with dealing with those problems yourself? Because you're going to have problems when you're getting the business started. Things that you didn't anticipate, things you couldn't figure out. If I had one other piece of advice, it would be to ask a lot of questions, and especially if you can ask questions of the people you intend to be selling to. When we were getting Lakewood Black Label started, I probably had 50 or 60 designs out of the gate, but we did so many focus groups. We met with people that lived in Lakewood or that spent a lot of time in Lakewood and said, be brutally honest on these designs. What works for you? What doesn't work? Does this make sense? Does this not make sense? That really helped us cull it down to that original 4 ideas that we had. And they were all really strong, and there was nothing that I was even on the fence about. But had we gone out and tested a bunch of things and actually spent the money on making product, that would have been a much more painful learning lesson for us, where we could have just asked people and shown them concepts on paper before we actually spent the money on inventory. If you can ask people what they think, every opinion is valuable when you're getting going. So there's tons of information out on the internet. I joined a t-shirt forum group, and they were really helpful. Like, I would ask them questions about conversion rates. So, I said, hey, look, I'm going to this thing. I've got 10,000 people that are going to be there. What's the conversion rate I can expect? I think they said between 2 and 3% of the total population that is going to be there might buy your stuff if it's priced properly and if the designs, are something that people respond to. I guess what I'm trying to convey in all of this is to be really methodical as much as you can and do a lot of research. Whenever a question comes up that we don't know the answer to is when we think about the people in our lives and who has some sort of expertise that maybe they don't know the answer because they're not totally familiar with the apparel business, but they might have experience in dealing with something that is close to it and can at least point us to who might know. We have a brand identity that we've worked really hard at. All of our designs are on black and gray. It's white typography driven with a little bit of red punch. It's very modern and clean. You're not going to see a lot of illustration and a lot of clutter on the shirts. The other thing that's really important to us is that our shirt materials are premium quality. And, that's something that sets us apart. We don't want to have that kind of stiff, cheap t-shirt feel that you might get from a free giveaway at an event. So even though that might cost us a little bit more, the customer satisfaction is a lot higher with our product. Word of mouth. We've been doing more and more social media advertising lately. We have been dabbling in the Facebook sponsored ads where you take a post that's on our business page and then we publish it and we geo-target people within the Lakewood and surrounding areas. So we're hitting the right people at the right time. This year we've had, for the first time, we did a brick and mortar pop-up shop for the holiday. And so that was really important to let people know that that we were actually here. So we did a ton of Facebook advertising. We did some flyer advertising around town. The local businesses have been really great embracing, this kind of pop-up shop idea. So they've been really great about letting us put things at their hostess server counters or on their community boards. So we've just been trying to do everything we can to kind of get the word out, at least for that. Probably not getting on social media on a regular basis sooner. For the longest time, we had a Facebook page and we'd occasionally post things, but it was more driven around when we had an event coming up. And so we weren't really telling our story to the community. We weren't sharing our designs in advance. We hadn't really developed that social media voice yet. And so that's been a big learning as we've done this pop-up shop is we've pretty regularly, a couple times a week, been posting things, whether it's just our designs, reminders about the shop. But we've built our member base from, it took us forever to get to just 100 likes. And now we're at almost 600. And so, we're going to continue to do those social media efforts to build that base so people are continuing to talk about us. We recognize how important social media is. It's sort of the virtual word of mouth now, and people are talking about our products through social media. So even after this brick and mortar is done, we've seen the power of doing some of this sponsored geo-targeted advertising, and we're going to continue to do that, but push people towards the website or towards other things that we want to do. My business partner and I both have full-time jobs, and that's been really hard to kind of balance the needs of this side business and then, sort of our full-time jobs, which is right now still our bread and butter. And so that's been really challenging, especially, opening this brick and mortar through the holidays. When we go to events, it's a one-day thing. It's on the weekend. We can get in, set up, and get out. With the brick and mortar, there was a lot of learnings around, man, we have to keep this thing staffed. And even if we don't feel like coming in, we've advertised that we're going to be open. And so that's been difficult to kind of balance that. And so there's been a lot of learnings. We've talked about doing another pop-up shop in the summer. And now we understand what the foot traffic looks like coming in and like what daily sales look like, where we could balance out hiring somebody for certain shifts during the summer pop-up so we don't physically have to be here to do that all the time. But definitely it's been a time issue has been the biggest challenge because we can't neglect the full-time job, and we do want to see this grow and be successful. So it's kind of a balancing act. It's been tough. We've been in business now for 3 years, and I think we've just continued to learn, and I think that has a lot to do with our success because we've learned something that works, we keep doing it. If something that doesn't work, we've been quick to kind of cast that off and keep moving. This is something that people can outwardly wear, and that feels really cool to me. It's like I've seen people walking around town wearing my product, and there's nothing that feels better than that because they have probably 100 things in their wardrobe that they could choose from that day, but they chose our Lakewood Black Label design to wear for the day. That has not gotten old. That feels amazing every time I see that. So, I want to keep doing that because it feels good. So, in the end of the day, my number one goal is to have a piece of Black Label apparel on anyone in the United States.